Hype, hype. Come with me tonight, tonight. Can't you see? I wanna be with you. Hype, hype. Come with me tonight, tonight.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to E20 Zone TV on this Tuesday evening. Another day, another sort of life of West Ham United. To my right is Jay. Jay, what you saying about today's events, mate? Talk to me.
We yesterday had a really good conversation with some really interesting people, and I thought we'd covered it all. And literally 24 hours later, it's completely transformed in ways that we kind of foresaw. Not because we're ITKs, not because we're pretend ITKs. I'll get onto my amazing scoop very shortly. But because we just know this football club, and it was so easy to predict that it was going to go chaotic over the course of today. You said something that rung so true, which was the longer it took for us to hear anything, like the bigger and louder the doubts were in our heads. And here we are, 24 hours later, descended into pure, unadulterated chaos. Come on, you Irons! I absolutely love it. It's so West Ham, isn't
it? Shout out to the chat, Mike Theory, Charlotte. Big up E20. Hope you're well. Thank you very much, mate. I'm all right. This club is run like a circus, right? But I'm not even going to say that. It's like the fucking Benny Hill show. Everyone running around. I've heard so much today. Potter's waiting. He's delaying. He's what you said yesterday rings so true. He tickles the balls of people and then pulls himself away. Right? He's done it today.
Yeah.
Marco Silva for £8 million compensation. Not for me. Not for me at all. I don't get the hype with him. Fonseca, a man that we looked at in the summer, went against. He went to AC Milan. They handed him out the door, and they've just got Conceição. And then you got Julian Lopetegui, who takes training today. Jay, I don't know where you want to start, mate. Where do you want to start with it?
I'll tell you, before we get into all of that, I'm going to start with my scoop of the day yesterday, which was the unknown Spanish manager who is on his way, Davide Moyes. Credit my original source. First of all, Alex Crook, the man who jumped the gun. What an absolute fool he looks now. What a guy. Secondly, Mr. Mike Theory. Bro, I was inspired by the way that you construct your beautiful content. And I just want to be like you, bro. I love your work. I put my own twist on it. I'm not here to plagiarize. I've been plagiarized by at least 2 bellends on West Ham social media in the last 24 hours. So I'll give you credit where it's due, Mike. I wish I was you, bro. Let's first and foremost start with the man who's been under the spotlight, right? Which is Graham Potter. Now, we sat here 24 hours ago, and it was all but confirmed that Potter was going to be the manager. And we said, in the words that I used, that you just said, he likes to tickle ball sacks and then leave. This is exactly what we foresaw. Everton came knocking around lunchtime today, and they said, "Oh, by the way, we'd like to have a word with you." And all that does is shift all the negotiating power from us to him. And that shift has been happening ever since we sat down with him in December and said, "Would you come in on a 6-month basis?" He said yes. And we went, "Okay, cool." And it was the other way around. And we teased him. And then we went, "Actually, we're just going to stick." Now that it's come all the way down to this and he's got another potential offer, which is looking like it's going to be a real offer as well. Everton and West Ham both in the same kind of situation. I guarantee, because Everton are desperate and because Everton know they're on the back foot, all they've done is called him up and gone, "What do you want money-wise? What do you want contract-wise?" And he'll go, "I want roughly this as money-wise, and I want 2.5 years." And they'll go, "Yeah, cool, 2.5 years, no problem." And then they'll talk about the money bit. And all that will do is then he will go back and go, "Well, I can get a 2.5 year contract. What's the point in me taking a 4-month contract?" It's so basic. And we have overplayed our hand, which is exactly what we foresaw. And now we're in the shit. It's as simple as that.
I'm going to be honest. I said it yesterday. Why would a man take 6 months? What's he got to gain from it? What do you gain from that? Like, is this a manager that's got to put himself in the shop window? I don't believe so. I really don't. I think he can go and get a job anywhere, right? And I think he's just waiting for the right offer and the right money wise to go down that route. I'm actually shocked that Lopetegui's still here. but am I surprised? That's like the main thing. Am I really surprised? No, and I actually think I'd have money on it. He's here for the Villa game. That's the one, 100%. For me, yeah, I'm not convinced. Christian, what do you make of him? Not for me.
Right. Christophe Gaultier is Julian Lopetegui with added racism. Keep him away from our football club. If you want to know about Christophe Gaultier, search Christophe Gaultier controversy and see why he's currently managing in Qatar. He's in the Qatari league. This is Manuel Pellegrini 2.0. This is Lopetegui 2.0 plus a sprinkling of racism. Keep that man away from our club. I honestly, if we end up with Gaultier, we are so in the mud. Of course, Mike Fury would say, "Bring me as well."
Yeah, Mike Fury, aka Andrew Tate. Mike Fury, 199. Thank you very much, mate. James, who are you betting on for the manager job? Do you know what, mate? I've got a feeling he's going to stick with Lopetegui. This reminds me of Avram Grant all over again. History is repeating itself, ladies and gentlemen. Managers under pressure, it gets leaked to the press, i.e. social media in this current climate, and basically Sullivan will go, right, I ain't gonna get him out the door, I'm gonna stick with him. Yeah, and that's what I believe is gonna happen. I'll be very shocked if he gets sacked from now till Friday. Like, because if he gets sacked now, right, it's now 5:10 UK time, right? Can I really see him getting sacked by the end of the day? No. Can I see him taking his interview tomorrow? And what happens tomorrow, Jay, when he does the press conference for Villa?
Yeah. I was thinking this today as well. He's going to get brutalized in that press conference. I really do feel for him. I said this yesterday. He's just a normal bloke at the end of the day who's recently lost his dad, and he's about to get fed to the wolves. Like that, like press conferences, especially Gary Cottrell. I bet they put Gary Cottrell there. He is a class A bellend. He's such a dickhead. And he will sit there and just ask really nasty questions to him really directly and be like, but I'm a journalist. People want to know the answer to these questions. Like we know the answer to all these questions. We don't need people to like go in and just start sticking knives in. Part of me feels really bad for actually a big part of me feels really bad for him because I felt this today when the Marco Silva links came out that you mentioned. Yeah. Now, there's a reason, and again, this is something that we were discussing yesterday that now becomes clearer, that he's just deliberately going to leak whatever he can to try and humiliate the poor bloke as much as he can to make him walk away. Because the only way that we're spending on compensation for a manager is if we save the money that we have to spend to sack him, which, funny enough, I reckon is about £5 to £8 million, which is, funny enough, about the amount of money it would cost to get Marco Silva. So I think he's only a potential option if he walks. So that's why we've sounded him out. We've found out how much it would cost. He's probably gone, yeah, I'd probably go there because he knows he'll get a big payday to come to West Ham. And he knows he'll get a club with a bigger budget, albeit would he leave in the middle of the season when Fulham are doing quite well? I don't know, but that makes a lot of sense as well in the way that Sullivan does things. So,
see, I agree with what he says there, mate. Yeah. The press conference were actually cruelty, put the man out of his misery. Do you know what? I actually feel sorry for him in a way. And it really shows us up as a fan base, that our owner treats managers like this. Whether you like Moyes or not, he treated Moyes the same. He's now treating Lopetegui the same. He's literally offering the job to someone else before the man's even been gone. I don't know what to say on him. Like, nothing surprises me. Do you know what I mean? It's the same history repeating itself over and over again. Oh, you've got an owner in charge who is looking at other candidates. Why don't he just do the right thing? Like, why is it? And it fucking irates me. It really does. Why, Jay, does he not just go out and go and get someone for the future? Is there a reason? Like, or is it just because he's treating West Ham like a fucking trial period every time?
And this is the issue, and I want to talk about that subject because there's quite a lot to unpack there. I do want to talk about. There's a comment in there, Charlotte Smalls, and get like questions in if anyone's got questions because I'm interested to talk about stuff that you want us to talk about. We had a really good chat yesterday. Thought we covered everything. There's so much more to discuss. Charlotte Smalls, would you take Fonseca? Now, I can't confess to having looked at a lot of Fonseca's games and a lot of his teams. We've never really come across his teams before. But one thing I do know about Fonseca is he doesn't stay anywhere for very long. He's the longest he's ever been at a club was Shakhtar Donetsk, and he was there for 3 years. Other than that, he has bounced around from club to club. He's generally done pretty well, but he was at Pacos de Ferreira, got a job offer, I believe, from Porto, went to Porto, got sacked from Porto, went straight back to Pacos de Ferreira, got a better offer, left Pacos de Ferreira again. There is absolutely no way in hell that he comes
Yeah.
to West Ham and buys into a long-term game. So in terms of what he could probably do on the pitch, I imagine he'd come in and do well. I imagine he'd be a really good manager. But if you want someone for the long term who's going to stick around and who's going to build something and who's going to recruit well, like with a long-term vision in mind, I don't think he's the guy. So if he was to come in for just a 4 or 5 month thing, I would say, yeah, like fair enough. I can see that working for him. I can see that working for us. Don't expect him to be around next season, whatever. But to your point, James, that's not what we were told we were getting. We were told we were transitioning from the previous manager because there was a project, and because we were now going to like change the way that we do things both behind the scenes and on the pitch and try and bring a more modern approach. Well, picking a 4-month manager who would then maybe get another 2 years, who would jump at the sign of a bigger club coming in, is not thinking very long term. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Short term, yes. Long term, I don't think it solves any problems.
I agree with you 100% in what you just said. The same opinion is with Potter. If you're giving Potter 6 months, what are you gaining by it? But what are we learning really? We're not learning fuck all to a point. If that's the case, and we have faith in Lopetegui, then you just keep Lopetegui to the end of the season. Don't get me wrong, that's coming from me, and I fucking don't want the geezer here. But I don't want us to go get rid of Lopetegui and then go with a side man who just comes in and just does the exact same thing that Lopetegui would have done anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? Potter for me is twerking at other clubs. There's a reason, right? He's twerking this geezer, and I don't like it. He either wants to come to West Ham or he don't. And what Simon Jordan said today, shout out to him, on Talk Sport. He turned around and said, if the geezer says I need a day to think about it, he would have told him to piss off. Like, I'm not being funny. Like, this is West Ham United, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a team in League Two. It's not a team in the National League. This is West Ham United. We are the 16th richest club in world football, and we have got managers taking the piss out of us. Literally taking the piss out of us to a point. And we've got an owner who's taking the piss out of us by literally trying to make Lopetegui resign. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get him to walk. That's what he's trying to do. And he's trying to make it literally untenable and unbearable. So he goes, you know what? They've mugged me off. They're treating me like this. I'm walking away. And then Sullivan's going, lovely. I ain't got to pay compensation out for this geezer. Do you know what I mean? I haven't got to pay off his contract. But the club is rotten to the core. And I said this a year ago. I said it a year ago, and I said it with Art. I don't trust Sullivan, and nor should anyone else. I see people yesterday sort of saying about him. There was a clip that went round X about him getting a load of abuse in 2015 after the West Brom game. The geezer's mugging us all off. Like, I don't care if he's 70, 80 or 90. If he's robbing the people and he's mugging us off, he's going to get called out for it. And if anything, and I'm going to be truthful, it's fucking worse that he's at that age, because he should know better. Do you know what I'm saying? And we all know better. On this one, what the fuck is going to be? What's the atmosphere going to be like on Friday night? Like, we are in an FA Cup game, right, against Aston Villa away from home. You're going to have a lot of the fan base up there watching it. Yeah, we don't know what we're going to expect, and that's nervous. Like we could get pumped again, right? And this geezer, I don't think Lopetegui's walking. I think Sullivan. To end up on this before I get to Damon's comment, I think Sullivan's thinking that he's going to do exactly what he done at Wolves and walk away, and he's waiting for him to walk, right? And I don't think he's walking, this geezer. I think he's adamant that he's staying put. That's where the problem is. Do you know what I'm saying? If you want Potter, then you should have got Potter. Should have made sure it happens, and then you sack him. The last 24 hours have been laughable for this club. Absolutely laughable. It's embarrassing for all of us as patrons of this club. Like, do you know what I mean? We love this club, whether you're from the other side of the world or you're from East London, like Jay is currently right now. Yeah, we all love this club. Yeah, and we're being made to look like fucking idiots. It ain't no fan channels doing it. It's the man at the top of the tree who's doing it. Like, come on. Like, listen, I respect anyone who does YouTube or podcasts, right? Obviously, everyone's got their own favourites, yeah? But we're all not mugs. We're not all mugs here and going, fucking hell, like, and we're all sort of putting out shit. Like, what we're saying is can't make a decision in a boardroom and decide that if you want to keep this man or not. It's as simple as that. Like, it's like, I'm not being funny, Jay. Am I talking Bulgarian or something? I don't know. Like, am I lying to myself? Or, like, it just feels like we're in the fucking Twilight Zone. Do you know what I'm saying? And we don't know what we're gonna get. Damien, what's your thoughts? Do you think I can't even fucking speak. What's your thought process? Do you think has gone into Potter? What do you reckon, Jay?
So to kind of expand on, because we briefly touched on this yesterday, and there's a lot more that we can now see with another 24 hours. For me, first and foremost, he's a way out. He fits the non-negotiables on a CV that David Sullivan must have before he agrees to even entertain a manager. Premier League experience, out of contract. They're the two that has to happen before he entertains someone. After that, we've gotten to the stage where David Sullivan wants to have his cake and eat it, effectively. He, as we've said, he is publicly humiliating Lopetegui because he knows he's a walker. He walked in his previous job, but it doesn't look like he's going to walk this time. He's due a payday, so he's not going to. So he is playing the classic rich, powerful bloke who's never heard the word no, who, when he does hear the word no, probably doesn't listen anyway. And at the same time is going to try and get Potter in and just basically imagine that, well, Potter's coming, so now let me just explore other avenues. I've got a guy who's currently doing the job. I've got a guy who definitely wants to do the job. Let's see what other options I could have. That is classic, just like powerful rich bloke who just doesn't see other people as people. He just sees them as resources and means to an end. So now he's overplayed that hand. You've got the guy who's doing the job who's probably disillusioned, who isn't going to do as good a job now. Not that he was doing a great job in the first place, but it's probably going to get worse now. You've then got the other guy who's now pissed off because you've overplayed your hand with him. And now you've got other people who you're speaking to who now you have to try and expand. You have to try and get away from your non-negotiables, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But to the point I made yesterday, you're purely looking at people who are desperate. Like that's the only way that you're going to get people now. Because if anyone from outside the club, as I said yesterday, is looking at West Ham and seeing it as a good opportunity, you're either desperate or you're naive. Because if you see the way this club is run, you would run a million miles and you would go in the other direction. So I guarantee the fact that Potter has sat down with David Sullivan has probably made him go, I don't know if I want this. I guarantee it. There is no way that he's not been sort of dissuaded slightly by speaking to David Sullivan, because he is poisonous. It's that simple.
I agree. But I don't think it's all, and that's coming from fucking me, what I'm about to say. And I will get to a few comments. I see Verge there and West Ham Factory and a few others. Listen, I think we're all coming together at last. Yeah, at last, his fan base is starting to look upstairs at that little cunt. I'm going to call him a cunt because that's what he is. He's a cunt, right? We have got to get this geezer out the door, down the road, and far away from the East End. We have to, like, because I'm not being funny. We're always going to go in this cycle, and we're never going to go forward. Yeah, other teams are overtaking us. Forest would overtake us. Villa, Brighton, even Bournemouth are overtaking us. AFC Bournemouth are overtaking us currently right now. Come on, right? This is not acceptable as a fan base. Yeah, and we should not accept this as a fan base. Now, listen, right? We all do the YouTube game. Other people do their stuff. I do this stuff on here with Jay and Lucas and all the boys, right? But all our opinions are pretty similar. Is we want the best for this fucking club. And the one person who doesn't want the best for this club, who wants cheap, like the fucking canary, is David Sullivan. And it ain't rocket scientist. Like, you ain't got to be a rocket scientist to see it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that is him. And this is my issue that I had last year. Last year, I'm going to be honest, I was fucking scared to lose Moyes to a point, because I knew the stability would go. Sullivan would fuck it all up. And in the space of a year, we're back to being in the dark ages all of a sudden. Do you know what I'm saying? I look at Steiden, and I'm going to ask this question, JT, yeah? Right? Do you think it's come out that Steiden met up with Potter, yeah, and it got through to Lopetegui, and basically they went behind Lopetegui's back before it was even announced that they was going to sack him to a point, and that's where it's all blown up?
It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So this picture, like,
Yeah.
maybe Lopetegui found out the other day, and that's when he decided he doesn't want him anywhere near the dressing room or the training ground, and just doesn't want to be anywhere near him because he's lost the trust. All of these like theories and these thoughts that we threw around yesterday are all coming home to roost now, and they're all making a lot more sense. That picture coming out yesterday was deliberate.
Yeah.
Who do we think leaked that picture? Like, how did that picture get out? Who took that photo? Why has it come out now? Somebody wants that photo to come out. I don't know who. And chat, if you've got any theories, like, please do put them in. But I can't make my mind up. But there's a reason that came out, and there's something stinky going on behind the scenes. And it, like you say, it explains a lot as to why there's been a blow up between Lopetegui and Steiden. It all makes sense.
Not the first time.
Yeah.
It's not the first time it's happened. It happened last year with Moyes, whether you like Moyes or not. It happened there. It's happened again. I don't trust Steiden. I'm not being funny. And shout out to a few of the boys, as I say, on the spaces. One of them, Bros, told me straight. He said, "You watch what's going to happen. He's a PR fucking merchant, the geezer." I don't know where we're going, Jay. I really don't. Like, if we don't sack him by tomorrow, how much of a laughing stock does that make all of us look to a point?
So the thing is, I don't know if we're accountable for this. Is the thing. I was one of the perks of working from home. Like, during these last like 48 hours, I can go and flick Sky Sports News on when stuff's going on, and they obviously had someone at the training ground today. And there's a quite funny picture going around of them outside the training ground with like 2 cones and a bit of tape to protect them from whatever. And they sit there, and a guy was saying that he spoke to a couple of West Ham fans in the area about, firstly, Potter, and it was very mixed. Some people very happy, some people very uninspired, but the overwhelming majority said they were disgusted at the way this was handled. This is not what any of us want for West Ham. Not at all. They did also say, I don't know if anyone heard, one person drove past in a van and shouted out, "Bring back David Moyes," which is quite funny. Yeah. But at the same time, like, we didn't ask for this. Like, we are not accountable for our owners' actions. We see it for what it is. We know what that bloke is. We know how poisonous he is to our club. What we are accountable for is, what do we do about it? Because, like, we are all at our wits' end, and we are all fed up of it. When and how do we start having this serious conversation about protests and about bringing back serious actions against this owner? Because this is genuinely disgusting. I said yesterday, this guy does not deserve to be treated like this by this man. It's horrible.
People keep saying you can't get him out. He owns the club. I think that's Frankie, who's West Ham Factory. Yeah. One thing that he's just said there, which will make 100% right, is he has the keys to the castle. Right. That's all he has, is the keys. And where there's a lot more of us than him. This geezer needs to go. Yeah. Sometimes players outstay their welcome at club. Sometimes managers outstay their welcome at club. And then sometimes an owner outstays his welcome at a club. We don't want you here, David Sullivan, anymore. I'm sorry, right? And it needs to be mentioned every fucking fan channel going, right? That this geezer is going to put us backwards rather than forwards. If you keep buying cheap, you're going to keep buying twice. And that is a major problem for me. We all love this club in our own different way. Some of us love this club a bit more than others. Yeah, some of us over love this club. Some of us actually put money into this club for many, many years, and then now they're being robbed by the owner. Do you know what I'm saying? For me, when I look at the situation currently right now, this is going to set us back. Whoever the next manager is, he has to be right. I'm going to be honest, because nothing would surprise me if next year or the year after we end up getting relegated if we don't get this right. Because for how good it can be, and listen, if Leicester City can go and win the league, go and win the FA Cup, and then get relegated, it could happen to us. Trust me. And when they hit the heights, like, that was the sort of Mount Everest of like achievements. It could happen to us, and that's the concern really for me. Do you know what I mean? I agree there with that. Sullivan's out. He's not fit to run the club. He's not. He simply isn't. I don't blame it all on him, though. I do think Steiden has fucking literally gone behind people's backs and things like that. People still literally sort of backing him to a point, but you know, it's just, I don't know. I really don't. I want Sully gone. He's making us a joke. We have to hand him out. Just my opinion. What do you think is the best solution moving forward, Jay, for you?
We have to go back to where we were pre-COVID. and we have to start organising. We
Oh, Theory. Do you know what? I'm going to hunt that little Cypriot down. I know who he is. Right,
Right,
you know what I mean?
just to beeline off topic. Mike Theory's picture of you smiling the other day was beautiful. You got such a beautiful smile, James.
I
Like,
know,
why don't we
mate.
see it more often?
West Ham United, mate. Don't know how to fucking smile. Mike Theory question. If Karen Brady started an OnlyFans, would you subscribe? No, mate. I'd report the fucking thing. Do you know what I mean? Would you subscribe, Jay?
Sewer for irreparable damage to my retinas, honestly. So to my point, I was saying we need to get back to where we were pre-COVID. Whoever was organising those rallies, those marches, those protests, like we need to speak to them. Like you've got a platform here, James. We speak to like thousands of people every week. We can influence our little area of the West Ham fan base. All of the different channels can influence their areas, and we can start taking action again. Because the only way that, like, don't forget this, he doesn't own a majority stake in the club. So if it becomes so overwhelmingly deafening that we want him out, then the other investors have money in that club, and they are investors. They're not here. They're not going to be the saving grace. Sullivan is supposedly the West Ham fan, even though we know he's not one of us. So the only way that they all turn on him is if we put so much pressure on him that they turn around in a board meeting and go, mate, you got to do something. It's as simple as that.
That's a valid point. Whether Stein is doing, Sullivan is allowing to happen. It's pretty true. It's pretty true, that one. I'm not going to lie. I just feel that people said about boycotting and all that. I get it, but I just think it needs to be upped. The ante needs to be up now. There needs to be banners. Right, there needs to be banners out at Villa away. Yeah, to make it clear that you might own the club and you might have keys to the castle or keys to the door, but us patrons, us people who have supported this club all our lives, yeah, that's the ones that you have to represent. Do you know what I mean? And the way he's representing us currently right now is it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when you've got rival fans from other clubs taking the piss out of you, saying like you can't even get rid of your manager properly. Doesn't that just tell you something? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I agree with what that comment there. We're just customers, James. I did see something today. I put something up on X, and it was Kieran Maguire, the accountant or football accountant, or whatever he is. He was saying about franchise football, and basically in years to come, there ain't going to be supporters. There's just going to be football fans at the gaff. That's not. That's always been my biggest fear. If I speak the honest truth, it really has. It's not even an official statement from the club. Proves it. They have no class. I agree, mate. I agree. What do you think on Marco Silva, mate? I just need to get to that because people blow him up like he's the next coming of fucking Jose. Do you know what I mean?
It's an odd one, isn't it? I don't know where I stand on it. He's obviously doing a fantastic job at Fulham. He did a brilliant job at Watford until Everton were rumoured to come in for him, and he pretty much down tools until I think not down tools, but that team just turned so poor. I think they ended up having to sack him.
He was on the
then
verge
Everton
of
took
going
him.
to Saudi with Fulham.
Was he?
Yeah. Do you remember when Mitrovic?
Yes, I do remember. Yes, I do remember. Sorry. Yeah.
And like he was literally twerk. Another one who loves to twerk. We've got many twerkers at this fucking club.
Yeah, we do.
Twerk for jobs. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It really does drain the life out of this club, doesn't it? Let's be real.
To Lucas's comment, the main man, shout out. I totally agree. Frank would be a much better appointment, which is why I'm like, if you're going to buy someone out of a contract, Frank wouldn't come to West Ham mid-season. I'm confident of that. But if you're going to do it, this is why. If you were going to pull the trigger on Graham Potter on a short-term deal, when you had him there ready to go, should have pulled the trigger, got him in, end of the season, and then already been having the conversations with Thomas Frank's camp in the background to say, we will come for you in the summer. Would you join? And that is the way that a sensible club would do their business. Because
True.
I totally agree. What Thomas Frank's done there is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. But Marco Silva, like the £8 million release clause, I think he probably would come. It feels a bit steep. But like I say, the only way he comes is if we humiliate, not we, but the owners humiliate the current manager so much. That's that.
That's true. What good manager really is going to want to work under Sullivan's reign. Really, like
Yeah. No.
unless we get someone like this man. Let's have a go there. Gary O'Neill, someone like that. But then if we go and get Gary O'Neill, then we're not going any further forward, really. Do you know what I mean? That's not a up and coming progressive manager. This man's just been sacked by Wolves, and the moment they hit the Wolves sacking, they end up going on a little run. I know they got thumped last night by a good Nottingham Forest side, but you know, I just feel like we can't even get the manager right. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, Tim Steidten, right? If he was to go and pick the manager, at least you would know it would fall on his hands. But we all know with Sullivan at the fucking helm, we're going to get someone cheap and cheerful. So we can't win either way. We're actually stuck in a situation now where we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. If we sack Lopetegui now, we're only going to get someone who's just been sacked recently, i.e., like someone like a Steve Cooper or Gary O'Neill or someone like that. I see what Theory's saying now, James. The only choice is Allegri. Fucking Allegri ain't coming here. I will take 50 quid with anyone that he does not arrive at West Ham, right? DM me after this, right, on this channel, or have a 50 quid bet with anyone that he will not be the manager of West Ham. What the fuck is Allegri going to go and work for Sullivan? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's going to roll into the East End, like, with his sort of, like, Al Capone sort of, like, you know, it ain't going to happen, mate. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know about you. Do you think it's going to happen, Jay?
No, not a chance. Absolutely not a chance. I don't actually want to waste my breath on Allegri because it's just not going to happen. Let's have the Gary O'Neill conversation, right? Because there was an interesting conversation, an interesting message. James, a few chats ago, I like Gary O'Neill and he had a tough gig at Wolves. I actually agree. I think Wolves is a really, really difficult club to manage. They sell their two best players every summer and don't reinvest. That club is totally dependent on Premier League money and on selling stars. Their model is sign someone relatively cheap, grow them in value, and then sell them. Like they've done it so well. Neto, Kilman. Before that, they had Ruben Neves. They had Matthias Nunez. They'll do the same with Matthias Cunha, although I know he's close to a new deal. I don't know. There's probably a release clause in it. I don't know. But that's the way that club is run. And he was sold down the river this season when they sold Kilman and didn't replace him. And their centre-back pairing is poor. So first and foremost, I will say I do sympathise a little bit with Gary O'Neill. But he did lose the dressing room, it felt, towards the end of his time there. Interestingly, I wanted to talk about, and whatever you think of this bloke, Sean Whetstone's been on a couple of radio stations over the last sort of 24 hours.
Did you hear the one last night?
I haven't heard the one last night. I heard him do one this morning. Tell me about the one last night.
It's something about Ashworth and all that. Fucking like people get this thing in their head. Oh man, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it, Joe. don't fucking lose it, right? People get it in their head because Potter's coming, Ashworth's coming along. Says who? Do you know what I mean? Like Sullivan's gonna go, you know what? It's buy one, get one free, isn't it? You know what I mean? You buy one, you get one free. Like, it ain't gonna fucking happen. Do you know what I'm saying? He mentioned about Ashworth last night, but go ahead and what he said today, mate, because I didn't listen to the one today.
So he briefly at the end mentioned Gary O'Neill. Apparently his camp have been in touch and been like, we're available. Because Gary O'Neill will jump at the chance to come to West Ham. Like, I guarantee it. And it would make a lot of sense that we overplay it. I think we said this yesterday as well. It would make so much sense that we overplay our hand with everyone and Gary O'Neill ends up in charge until the end of the season. Again, it's probably about as uninspiring as every other option that we've talked about. There's very few that I would actually get excited about nowadays just because I know what the club's like. But one thing I'm confident of is Gary O'Neill comes in, he gets the club, and like you'll actually feel a little bit of affinity. Will he fix our defense? Probably not. And that's the huge problem. Will he play a bit of a reasonable style of football? I think he probably would, but I don't think he fixes how much we leak goals. And I think he spends 4 months here. It doesn't take us forward. It doesn't achieve anything. And then he's out the door having just earned a bit of wedge for the next 4 months. So yeah. True.
Darren, shout out to you, mate. Question: do you think we would actually want to join this circus club? Do you think players want to join this circus club? My opinion, no, because I think they're in a bit of limbo at the minute. I don't know who the next manager is going to be. If you're getting man on a 6-month deal, he might come in, you might get on with him, he goes, get a new manager in, and then he might be out the door. And it's just like a merry-go-round of talent all the time. What's your opinion on that, Jay?
Yeah, I think I think it mainly depends on who's in the dugout, as opposed to what's going on behind the scenes. As long as they're getting paid, as long as they're playing football, I don't think they really care about anything else, to be honest. You look at how many players follow managers to certain places, regardless of what's happening in the club. Same with, I think, Wolves. Lopetegui brought somebody to Wolves with him. I can't remember who. But like, and that club is a bit, you know, the way I've described its run is not ideal. So I don't think people pay a lot of notice to it. And I think once you get a guy in charge who can settle things down, and currently the board is the focus of pretty much everyone looking at what's happening at West Ham, not just West Ham fans. Once that settles down, I don't think players really care. They'll look at league position, what competitions you in, and how much money they're going to earn. Simple as that.
The Gary O'Neill field, to quickly go back to that. For 6 months or 5 months, I'd probably accept it to a point. I go, fair enough, let him come in. Right, he's done it before with Bournemouth, if I got that right, and he was doing okay at Wolves, so to speak. But this year's been a nightmare. I knew he'd get sacked this year because second season always happens. For me, I would rather just go and get Carrick. He's the one, mate. I'm not being funny. And I understand what Ben's saying there. They won't risk Carrick, but maybe Carrick is like, for me, Carrick is the guy. He's the one that you bring in and you can work around him. He's an up and coming manager, right? And I know people say, oh, he's in the Championship. What's he won, right? Fucking look what Lopetegui's won. He's still shit at this club. Do you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter if they've won anything or not. Like, we need structure at this club. The problem is that there is no structure at the club because the owner is structureless to a point. So that's a problem in itself. We need to have someone in the club right now who understands the West Ham spirit. Really, I'm going to be honest, like the spirit of the club, the spirit of the atmosphere of the club, spirit when all the boys walk out, the bubbles go up, and I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles is sung around the LS. We need someone in there who's going to galvanise this. Like, if will Potter do that? I just think Potter's always looking for a better option, if I'm being honest. And then I look at Gary O'Neill. Yeah, he played for the club. Would it be a bad shout? Probably not. But, like, what else is there? Do you know what I'm saying? We're running out of options to a point.
Can I talk about the elephant in the room? Because I know you're a big Carrick fan, and we haven't necessarily discussed this. And I can't get it out of my head, but I can't get excited about Michael Carrick. He crossed the line when he left. He went straight to Spurs. I can't forget that. If people who have a problem with Declan Rice going to Arsenal are pro getting Michael Carrick in, then I don't understand where your where your line is. Like what makes Carrick now the right fit for West Ham when he committed the ultimate sin of leaving West Ham to go to Tottenham? I don't understand.
Right, going to Spurs is always a sin. We all know that as a fan base. Yeah, when you go there, it is what it is. Like you can't be accepted. The difference is back then is he stayed for a season in the Championship to try and get us promoted. It didn't work out, and West Ham cashed in on him. Like, I'm not being funny. Who was in charge then? Terence Brown, was it? I think it was Terence Brown.
It was.
Back then, and he was another thieving bastard in himself. Do you know what I'm saying? So, do I hold that against Carrick for leaving the club when we were still in the Championship? Not really. Not really, mate. I'm going to be honest. I look at it. I look at Declan Rice. He said he was going to stay. He was undernard, and then he decided he wants to go and win trophies with a big club, and he still hasn't won a trophy with a big club yet. And at present, Declan Rice is getting cooked by Arsenal fans. So that one, I look at Carrick and I think he understands this of what it means to play for West Ham United. He's been there, he's seen it, done it. People say, what about Lampard? Lampard's a different story altogether. Lampard, kisses the badge and literally mugged off West Ham when he played against us on numerous occasions. And he's a Chelsea. Listen, Lampard might have come through the West Ham academy, but he's a Chelsea boy, Lampard. Like, we all know that deep down. Yeah, and he sort of showed his hand when he moved. Do you know what I'm saying? And the same can be said for Rio. Rio might come through the academy, but he's Manchester United, and we all know it. So for me, I understand what people are saying about the Spurs thing, but I just feel like we need someone who understands the club. Now, the Gary O'Neill shout is a valid one. He understands the club to a point. He understands what it means. But for me, it's a step backwards. It's a massive step backwards here. We are going. We are literally on factory settings, and we're resetting the fucking grid to a point and going back to basics. So I'm not convinced on that. I really am not.
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm probably with the majority of West Ham fans where I haven't watched a lot of Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough. I don't know a lot about them. I know they're always fighting for playoff places. They missed out. Did they make the playoffs and lose in the semis last year? Or did they miss out on the playoffs? I can't remember.
Yeah.
So I keep a very, very long distance eye on what they're doing because I'm not overly interested. But the only memory I've got is as a young lad, West Ham going down. Yeah, I absolutely take your point on he stayed for a year in the Championship, which probably buys him a lot more credit. But at the same time, I can't get over someone like walking across the line and going from West Ham to Spurs. If I knew more about Carrick's Middlesbrough, would that potentially change my mind? Possibly. If I was looking at him and I was really excited about the football that they're playing, then maybe I'd look at it and go, yeah, he is worth it. And the benefits outweigh the negatives. And maybe he comes back and he absolves himself of all of his previous wrongdoings. Who knows? Maybe I need to watch a bit of Carrick's Middlesbrough before I can make that call. I honestly don't know. But yeah, I'm probably in the majority here of people who don't really watch Middlesbrough and just see a bloke who I see betrayed us and did the unthinkable.
I think betrayed is a strong word. I think when you are in the Championship, and let's go back to 2004. That's when it was 2004. So 21 years ago. Madness, right? The Premier League was a lot different back then. The Championship was a lot different back then. It ain't as competitive as it is now. Do you know what I mean? You had the sort of big six or big four, so to speak, and then the rest of them were just scrambling about. I don't blame him for leaving, especially if Terence Brown had the smell of a pound note in his hand. Do you know what I mean? So I don't really blame him for that one. The issue with Carrick, the reason why I believe that I think Carrick will be a success is because he's only going to get better. And I think he gets better with better money, better facilities, and better sort of structure around him. The problem is with us is we've got an owner that never buys no one out of a contract. Never. I've said it. I said it last year. I said it to people. I literally begged people. I said, please don't believe that the Almiron slot and Alonso thing is going to come true because it ain't. It just isn't going to happen. And when you've got an owner like ours, we're always going to go for the waste man geezer who's begging for work. It's just always going to happen, isn't it? Now, for me, like, if someone said to me right now, what would you do, James, if you could sort of see out this year and then identify your main target in the summer? I probably would accept that to a point. Because this season, let's be honest, after Friday, if we get knocked out of the FA Cup, this season's dead. Yeah, we're not going to go down. Right, I think we've got enough firepower in there to get us out of trouble. We've only got to beat literally 3 or 4 teams below us, and we're clear of danger, which I believe we can do that. And then basically the season's a write-off. We're in that sort of limbo like situation where we're not going down, we're not qualifying for Europe, and we're between 10th and 14th, so to speak. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I just think if you're going to go do this the right way, then don't rush into it right now. That's
so and this is the thing. If we kind of circle back to the current issue at hand and try and be realistic about it, right? Because as we've said, the longer time goes on, the longer I can like doubt whether Potter's actually going to come to West Ham, which leaves us in the mud and leaves us really like scratching around for whatever happens. Realistically, in that scenario, you've got to get some because I was all for, as you said, I say all for. Don't take this out of context, but like I was all for just like leave Lopetegui there until the end of the season, grin and bear it, like begrudgingly write the season off and then regroup in the summer and then go and be ambitious in the summer. I think his position's untenable now, and whether you get Potter or not, you've got to just put the guy out of his misery, and you've got to get him gone. I can't believe they've invited him to take training today. And they've allowed him to come back in, knowing what's going on, left him in the dark, and let him do a day's work and go home again. And knowing that he's going to come in tomorrow and he's going to get sacked, they should just done it. Like we all know what's going to happen, whether you get Potter or not. Now your negotiation isn't, oh yeah, well we might sack him, we might not. Your negotiation is now, will you go to Everton or will you go to us? That's what his decision is. If he doesn't go to us, we have to just be realistic about what we do this season. And then, I'm not against the Carrick thing long term. We can come back to that. We can probably discuss that from now until the end of the season.
Yeah.
But being realistic about what happens if Potter doesn't come is pretty grim reading. It's pretty grim reading. Hence, I would accept Gary O'Neill until the end of the season, but again, begrudgingly, just because.
Yeah, but if you don't know, Jay, but then what would happen then? If Potter says no, and Everton offer him a better deal, then where does that leave us? Because that leaves us in a massive problem then, because we've got a manager that they don't want. They've got a manager that they tried to sack and they didn't sack. It's going to be like an Avram Grant situation all over again. Literally all over again. Well, anyone who remembers, for context, Avram Grant, 2010, 2011 season, I think it was, in the January, played at Arsenal, 15th of January, I think it was, if my memory serves me right. We lost the game 3-0. And he was basically, it was odds on that he was out the door and Martin O'Neill was coming in. Something got leaked to the press. Some of them backtracked and went, no, we're going to stick with Avram Grant, and the man got us relegated. And that is exactly what happened. Yeah. For me, I just look at this and I think, right, if Lopetegui's not your guy, he's not your guy, why don't you just sack him anyway? Why don't you just sack him, take him out the firing line, right, or relieve him of his duties? Let Kevin Keane, who is there, people saying, who's going to take training sessions? Kevin fucking Keane's sitting there, right? He's been at the club for years. Let him take it, right? One game. Or you go and get someone. Like we got someone years ago in Trevor Brooking. When in 2003, when we lost our manager, I think it was Roder at the time, through illness, if memory serves me right, or we got the sack, I can't remember.
He was really ill, I think.
Yeah. Well, we went and got Trevor Brooking. We got a club legend who come in, and he was fucking brilliant. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's not like that we can't do anything. We can do stuff. It's whether or not the owner wants to do that stuff, though. That's the $1 million question. Does his owner really want it? So, see, people say about this, right? Xavi. Like, if you want to be ambitious, you can go. Look at the people that were getting mentioned with Jay. Jose Mourinho. Who's the other one that got mentioned? Fonseca, right? That Christian Gotti, whatever his name is, right? Fucking, we're getting mentioned for all these people that are just wronged. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Darren said I had a brain tumor. I knew he weren't well, mate. Do you know what I'm saying? And Iggy goes pop. Shout out to you, mate. I think you're at Suffolk. Brooklyn did an amazing job for us when he stood in as our manager. He did, mate. He nearly kept us up. Like he was.
His record's sensational, isn't it? Like when I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but isn't his win percentage like outrageous?
Yeah. He literally had Champions League form. Like the form he had was like Champions League form. I think we lost one game, drew 2, and we won the rest. And let's have it right. We only stayed up like. Well, we only went down 42 fucking points. 42, 43 points, I think it was. And it's the most anyone's ever gone down that route. The issue is one thing I will say is bringing the fan base together. I will say that everyone's in the same boat now. Everyone's saying, right, this is what the major problem is. And we're going from there. But you know what I'm saying? Jay, any final thoughts from you, mate, on this day in East London?
Yeah. Another 24 hours passes. Another call for West Ham to do the right thing. Put the man out of his misery. Finalise things with Potter. And then reconvene at the end of the season, and we'll figure out from there. I have no faith that that's what we're going to do. I have every belief that we end up completely cocking this up. Potter goes to Everton, and then we're sat here cock in hand, not knowing what to do next. Hopefully, either way, they do the right thing and get rid of Lopetegui. His position's untenable. I don't want to see him in that press conference. I see someone saying they've delayed it till Thursday now, so they've bought themselves another 24 hours, which is again a shambles. So, hopefully we do the right thing. The one thing, the final thing I'll say is people talking about a boycott to try and get to Sullivan. I'm not for a boycott. The one thing that we can do as match-going fans is go to games to get away and kind of silence the noise around the club and just enjoy watching the football and support the team on the pitch. I think that's got to be pushed right to the absolute last resort. We're in an E20 away day with minus the OG E20 on Friday night. where I'll be at Villa Park supporting the lads. Lucas will be at Villa Park. I think Mitch is at Villa Park as well.
Yeah, probably Mitch is there.
Yeah. So I'll be there. I'm looking forward to the away day. I'm looking forward to 6,000 West Ham fans at Villa Park. We can just get behind the players on the pitch for 90 minutes and enjoy it. But we do need to have the serious conversation about what do we do as West Ham fans to come together and to actually show this owner how much we hate him and how much he needs to leave our club. That is the question we need to be asking ourselves.
I completely agree. My final thought is this: get the banners out, ladies and gentlemen. Boycott is one thing. Banners are something else, right? If we need to start being loud, proud, and fucking literally unbearable for this man. Yeah, Sullivan's a major problem at the club. Yeah, I ain't got to tell yous know, right? As simple as that. And I'm glad that everyone on every fan channel is starting to wake up and smell the roses to a point. Do you know what I mean? Listen, one thing I will say is everyone seems like they're coming together at last. Yeah, and this has gone full circle from Moyes in, Moyes out to Lopetegui out to now everyone's looking at Sullivan. Sullivan is a major problem. Brady's a major problem. They're all bad news. Yeah, and they're all taking the piss out of all of us currently right now at our club, and it's unacceptable, and it shouldn't be tolerated. It shouldn't be tolerated. As Frankie said in the chat earlier on, and shout out to Frankie. He holds the keys to the castle, but we are the people that will forever be here when he's fucking gone. Do you know what I'm saying? In regards to the manager, I actually feel sorry for Lopetegui to a point. I really do. I don't want him here. I don't think he's good enough, and I think the way he's being treated is like a piece of shit. But am I surprised with the ownership of this club currently right now? Absolutely fucking not. I really am not surprised at all. So we will have to see what happens tomorrow. If tomorrow comes and he's in that press conference and he's going to have to answer them questions, the scum that is at the top of the mountain needs to be massively called out, because no man deserves to be sitting there and taking literally like shots about his job, about like getting the sack, not getting the sack, and he hasn't even been put out of his fucking misery. He really hasn't. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to E20 Zone TV, hit notification bell. I will be back probably tomorrow or Thursday. Yeah, I'll be back one of them days because I've got to do a Villa preview, and we will see if Lopetegui is still in work or if he's not. If he's still in work, it all goes on to the ownership at the end of the day. You've got one job to do. You can't even sack a man fucking properly at the minute, and that's embarrassing to us. But we will see what happens there. Take care of yourselves out there. Keep the faith. Peace.
Come with me.